Right now, as you're reading this, there's a silent war happening inside homes all over the world. No fists, no bruises, no screams. Just quiet destruction carried out with smiles, tears, and guilt trips. Millions of men are bleeding internally, not from violence you can see, but from words, silence, and manipulation that cut far deeper than any blade. These men believe they're good partners. They tell themselves they're patient, loyal, understanding. But what they're really doing is dying slowly under the weight of psychological warfare disguised as love. Society has trained everyone to see abuse in one direction: man as the monster, woman as the victim. The narrative is so deeply ingrained that when the roles reverse, people laugh. Come on, how can a man be abused by a woman? But that's exactly why it works, because nobody believes it's possible. The truth is, women can wound without leaving a trace. Men use fists. Women use psychology. Men leave bruises on the body. Women leave scars on the soul. And the system only recognizes one of those as violence. The most dangerous part? You don't even realize it's happening. It starts with concern, not cruelty. I just want you to be happy. I'm only saying this because I care. You let her guide you, adjust for her, bend a little. Before long, your life revolves around keeping the peace. You're not living anymore. You're managing her moods, walking on eggshells, making yourself smaller every day just to survive. And by the time you notice, it's already too late. You're isolated, ashamed, and invisible, trapped in a battle no one will ever admit exists. But the scariest part isn't that it happens. It's how normal it looks from the outside. It never begins with cruelty. It begins with tenderness, the kind that feels like destiny. She listens to every word you say, laughs at every joke, remembers every small detail about you. You tell yourself she's different. Finally, someone who understands you. That's how it always starts, not with control, but with connection. Take Daniel, for example, former Air Force pilot. Disciplined, respected, calm under pressure. He met her at a charity event. She said all the right things, admired his strength, his leadership, his drive. Within a few months, she convinced him he'd finally found peace. She called him her rock. He called her his home, but slowly the home became a cage. First, she questioned his friends. They're not good for you, Daniel. They bring out your worst side. So he stopped seeing them. Then came his hobbies. Flying's too dangerous. You should be here with me. He sold his small plane, told himself it was the mature thing to do. Next came his family. Your sister doesn't like me. Your mom's manipulative. So he distanced himself from them too. Each sacrifice felt small in isolation, a sign of love, a compromise for harmony. But one day, he looked around and realized there was nobody left. No friends, no hobbies, no laughter, just her. Isolation doesn't happen overnight. It's like erosion. Each wave takes a little more of you until you're unrecognizable. She tells you it's because she cares. Because she wants more time together. Because you're soulmates who don't need anyone else. And you believe it. Because love is supposed to be selfless, right? You're supposed to prioritize your partner. But real love doesn't demand isolation. It doesn't require you to shrink so someone else can feel secure. By the time you notice the pattern, you're already domesticated. You ask permission before you make plans. You hesitate before speaking. You start apologizing before you even know what you did wrong. You think you're being considerate, but really, you're being conditioned. Daniel told me once, it's like she turned my own loyalty into a leash. That's the brilliance of psychological control. It uses your best qualities against you. Your kindness becomes obedience. Your empathy becomes weakness. Your love becomes a weapon aimed right at you. From the outside, it still looks like a perfect marriage. People envy what they see. They don't hear the silence between them at dinner. They don't see the fear behind his smile. To the world, he's lucky to have her. In reality, he's living as a ghost inside his own home, the pilot who can't even steer his own life anymore. And that's how it always begins, not with hate, but with love that slowly morphs into ownership. The very warmth that drew you in becomes the fire that burns you alive. But isolation is just the first weapon. What comes next is far more precise and far more devastating. Once you're isolated, the real game begins. She doesn't need to shout or threaten. She just needs to suggest. Control doesn't arrive wearing armor. It arrives wrapped in concern, draped in logic, spoken softly enough to sound reasonable. And before you realize it, she's replaced your instincts with her voice. The first weapon is guilt manipulation. It's elegant in its simplicity. Every emotion she feels becomes your fault. She's unhappy because you're distant. She's angry because you don't care. She's bored because you never try. You start living in a constant state of self-correction, trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist. There's always another way you've fallen short, another invisible rule you've broken. Guilt becomes the leash, and you pull it tighter yourself. Then comes emotional conditioning. She learns your triggers, the tone of voice that freezes you, the silent treatment that keeps you anxious. Every conflict becomes a behavioral lesson. She rewards submission with affection, punishes disagreement with withdrawal. You're not in a relationship anymore, you're in training. Another weapon is public humiliation disguised as humor. She jokes about your failures in front of others, points out your insecurities with a laugh. Oh, he's terrible with money. He thinks he can fix things himself. Bless his heart. Everyone laughs. You force a smile. But it's not a joke, it's a public declaration of dominance. And if you react, you're the one who can't take a joke. Then there's sex as currency. It becomes less about love and more about negotiation. She dangles intimacy like a paycheck, conditional, unpredictable, transactional. You start performing for affection, chasing approval like a starving man chases crumbs. It's not desire she's giving you. It's obedience she's buying. And just when you think you've figured out the pattern, she switches the rules. The warmth returns for a moment. A kiss, a laugh, a night that feels like old times. You think maybe it's getting better. But it's not reconciliation. It's reinforcement. She's teaching you that good behavior gets rewarded, rebellion gets punished. It's Pavlovian. These tactics are invisible to outsiders because they mimic love. They sound like compromise, communication, emotional honesty, but they're not. They're control mechanisms designed to rewrite your sense of self. Slowly you stop asking, is she right for me? And start asking, what can I do to make her happy? That's the shift from partnership to servitude. It's not always malicious at first. Sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's deliberate. But either way, the result is the same. She holds the script, and you just read your lines. But these aren't random behaviors. They're strategies, and once you recognize the playbook, you'll see the next move coming before it hits. If guilt is the leash, then gaslighting is the muzzle. It's the moment she stops needing to control your behavior because she's learned how to control your reality. This is the masterstroke, the quiet psychological sleight of hand that turns certainty into confusion, memory into doubt, truth into fog. It starts small. You remember her promising something, and she insists you imagined it. You recall an argument where she said something cruel, and she laughs. I never said that. You're twisting things again. At first, you argue back. You're sure of what happened. But she's calm, confident, and unwavering. You, on the other hand, feel emotional, defensive, and scattered. And because she's composed and you're not, people assume she's the reasonable one. That's how gaslighting wins, not with logic, but with presentation. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. You replay conversations in your head like courtroom evidence. Maybe she didn't say that. Maybe you are being too sensitive. You begin to doubt your own perceptions, your own instincts, even your own sanity. That's the point. Once she owns your version of reality, she owns you. Take Marcus, a software engineer who told me, I started recording our arguments just to make sure I wasn't losing it. When he played them back, he was stunned. She'd rewrite entire events with such conviction that even listening to proof felt disorienting. It wasn't just that she lied, it was that she believed her own lies. That's the most terrifying kind of manipulator, the one who can convince herself first. Gaslighting doesn't always sound confrontational. Sometimes it's delivered as concern. You've been so stressed lately. You're not remembering things clearly. Or, you really need help, babe. You're scaring me. Suddenly, she's the caretaker and you're the unstable one. The story flips and you start defending your own sanity instead of your truth. And once she's rewritten the narrative, she can use it however she wants. She can justify cruelty. She can rewrite history. She can even convince your friends and family that you're the problem. Because if she can make you question your own mind, convincing others is easy. Gaslighting is psychological terrorism disguised as compassion. It doesn't just destroy trust in her, it destroys trust in yourself. You stop listening to your gut because it's been wrong too many times. You stop defending yourself because it never changes anything. You stop fighting because every fight ends with you apologizing for something you didn't do. That's when she's won. Because now, she doesn't need to raise her voice, or punish you, or threaten you. She's made you doubt your own reflection. And once a man no longer trusts his own mind, he'll believe anything she says, even that he deserves the pain she gives him. There's a point where control becomes chaos, not loud, violent chaos, but a steady drip of emotional warfare that makes you afraid to breathe wrong. This is where manipulation graduates into emotional terrorism. It's no longer about winning arguments. It's about keeping you in a constant state of anxiety, guilt, and helplessness. It starts with emotional blackmail disguised as vulnerability. She cries every time you set a boundary. She gets panic attacks when you say you need space. She threatens to hurt herself if you mention leaving. You're no longer her partner. You're her emotional hostage. You start managing her moods like a full-time job. Every decision, every sentence, every facial expression passes through the filter of, will this upset her? And when you live like that long enough, you lose track of what you actually feel. I knew a surgeon once, a man who spent his life saving others but couldn't save himself. Every time he tried to attend a conference, his wife would suddenly have an anxiety episode. He stopped going after missing 5 in a row. His career stalled. She'd smile and say, "I'm so lucky to have a husband who prioritizes me." That's not love. That's emotional imprisonment with flowers on the bars. Then comes the victim flip, the final trick in the abuser's playbook. She provokes you, needles you, ridicules you, pushes you for days. And when you finally snap, when you raise your voice, when you punch a wall out of frustration, suddenly you're the monster. She's the trembling victim, tears in her eyes, ready to show the world the real you. The manipulation is complete. She manufactures your explosion, and then points to it as proof she was right about you all along. And society believes her. Every time. Because she looks small, fragile, emotional. You look angry, unstable, dangerous. It doesn't matter that she spent weeks breaking you down. All anyone sees is the outburst. The system isn't built to detect psychological warfare. It only reacts to visible damage. This is how good men lose everything. They spend years holding themselves together while being dismantled piece by piece. Then one moment of anger, one raised voice, and it's over. Her story becomes the only version that matters. You'll be painted as the abuser, even as you bleed quietly behind closed doors. That's the true genius of this kind of violence. She never has to destroy you directly. She just builds the stage, lights the fire, and hands you the match. But even after all that, most men don't leave. And the reason isn't weakness, it's chemistry. If you've ever wondered why smart, capable men stay in these relationships, here's the truth. It's not stupidity. It's addiction. Psychological abuse doesn't break you all at once. It conditions your brain like a gambler chasing a jackpot. The highs and lows create a chemical trap stronger than any drug. It is called intermittent reinforcement, the same principle casinos use to keep people glued to slot machines. Random rewards, unpredictable affection, inconsistent approval. She alternates between warmth and cruelty so skillfully that your brain starts living for those rare moments of peace. You never know when she'll be kind again, so you hang on through the storm, convincing yourself that one more apology, one more sacrifice might bring the good days back. But those good days aren't love, they're bait. A calculated dose of kindness to keep you compliant. The hug after a fight, the soft smile after weeks of silence, the sudden reminder of the woman you fell for. Those moments feel euphoric because they break the tension she created. Your relief is mistaken for love. Your calm feels like healing, but it's really withdrawal ending. I spoke to a man named Ryan, successful architect, sharp mind, but hollow eyes. He told me, when she was nice to me, I felt high. When she was cruel, I felt sick. I wasn't in love with her anymore. I was addicted to her approval. That's the invisible chain that binds so many men. You're not staying for her. You're staying for the feeling she occasionally gives you. The human brain isn't built to handle that level of emotional volatility. The dopamine spikes, the cortisol crashes, it rewires you. You start confusing anxiety with excitement, drama with passion, chaos with connection. You don't see the manipulation because your nervous system is too busy chasing relief. This is why logical advice doesn't work. You can't reason someone out of an addiction. You can't tell a gambler to stop after they've lost everything. They're still waiting for that one win to make it all worth it. In abusive relationships, that win is her affection, the rare smile, the unexpected touch, the moment she pretends to care. It's not love you're craving. It's stability that never comes. And the cruelest part? She knows exactly how to keep you hooked. Just when you've had enough, when you're ready to leave, she flips the switch. The affection returns, the laughter, the warmth. See? We're fine. You're overreacting, and just like that, the hope is back and the cycle begins again. It's not weakness that keeps you there. It's conditioning. A psychological cage built from your own biology. But once you start seeing the pattern, you can't unsee it. And when the illusion fades, she doesn't stop. She evolves. Once she senses the old tricks are losing power, she upgrades her tactics. These are the advanced manipulations, the ones that don't just control your behavior but colonize your conscience. They weaponize your compassion, your faith, and even your morality. By this stage, she's not just inside your head, she's inside your values. The first is medical manipulation. It's one of the most devastating because it exploits your instinct to protect. The headaches start whenever you make plans without her. The stomach pains flare up when you set boundaries. Suddenly, she's too sick to be left alone, too fragile for confrontation. You start canceling trips, skipping gym sessions, turning down opportunities. Each time, you tell yourself you're being caring. But caring has turned into captivity. Her illnesses are conveniently timed, vague, and always worsen when you show independence. And when she's with friends or doing something she enjoys, miraculously, she feels better. You notice the pattern, but you're too afraid to call it out because what if she really is sick? That's the trap. She hides her control inside your empathy. Then comes spiritual manipulation. She invokes God, energy, or the universe as her witness. My intuition tells me you're lying. Your energy feels off. God wants you to be more patient. Suddenly, disagreeing with her isn't just conflict, it's blasphemy. She positions herself as the morally superior one, the enlightened guide, while you're the flawed, sinful student trying to earn her approval. This turns the relationship into a church where she's both preacher and prophet, and you're the sinner in need of redemption. Some men face financial manipulation through social pressure. She never demands directly, she compares. Sarah's husband just bought her a new car. My friends' husbands take them to Europe. You push yourself harder, chasing a moving target of worth. If you can't afford it, you're a disappointment. If you can, you're never around enough. The message is constant. Whatever you do, it's never enough. And if all else fails, she calls in the nuclear option, the children. They'll hate you if you leave. I'll tell them who you really are. Every man who's heard those words knows the terror they create. You'll sacrifice anything, your freedom, your pride, your sanity, to stay near your kids. She knows it, and she uses it. By this point, you're not even living for yourself anymore. You're surviving for appearances, for peace, for the hope that she stop if you're just good enough. But she won't. These manipulations aren't random, they're precision tools forged through trial, error, and instinct. And what makes them so effective is that society still protects her while doubting you. Try telling someone your wife manipulates your health, your faith, or your kids. They'll call you paranoid, dramatic, delusional. That's the cruel genius of advanced manipulation. It leaves no evidence, only exhaustion. But even in the darkest psychological prisons, there's still a door. You just have to be brave enough to walk through it. Freedom doesn't begin the moment you leave her. It begins the moment you see her clearly. That's the real break, not from the relationship, but from the illusion. Because what keeps most men trapped isn't love, it's confusion. You can't fight what you refuse to name. And until you call it what it is, abuse, you'll keep trying to fix what was designed to break you. The first step is recognition. Every time you minimize her behavior, every time you tell yourself it's not that bad, that's the conditioning talking. The fog in your mind, the exhaustion, the constant second guessing, that's not you being weak. That's what long-term psychological control does to the human brain. It's survival mode stretched into years. The abuse lives in your thoughts long after she leaves the room. The second step is documentation. Write everything down, not for revenge, but for clarity. Because she will try to rewrite history, and there will come a day when you doubt your own memory. Every detail you record becomes a lifeline back to reality. It's not about convincing anyone else. It's about convincing yourself that you're not crazy. Then comes rebuilding your network. She isolated you because other people are dangerous to her control. Friends, family, mentors, reconnect quietly. These are your mirrors, the people who reflect back who you were before she dismantled you. Start small. One message, one call, one lunch. Reclaiming your connections is the first sign that her world is no longer your world. The fourth step is financial preparation. Get your resources in order. Open an account she doesn't know about. Protect your income, your assets, your documents. Because the moment she senses she's losing control, she aims to destroy what you have left. Love turned to war faster than you think. And finally, accept the cost. Leaving will hurt. You might lose the house, the kids, the friends who took her side. You'll lose the version of yourself that thought love could fix everything. But you'll gain something far greater, your sovereignty, your sanity, your peace. Understand this, you can't heal in the same environment that broke you. The woman you're trying to save doesn't exist. The sweet, caring version of her was a performance meant to keep you hooked. The real her is the one who feeds on your silence, thrives on your guilt, and fears your clarity. You can't fix someone who benefits from staying broken. So stop waiting for her to change. Stop waiting for closure. Stop waiting for permission to leave. Your life is slipping away in quiet moments of hesitation. You only get one life. Don't spend it being the hero in someone else's nightmare. The door has been open this whole time. The lock was never on the handle, it was in your head. Walk through it, because freedom doesn't wait for courage. Freedom creates it.